Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we've got a 10 times event dropping tomorrow. And it's going to be during the fusion. So a lot of people are still in the mix for this. Those that are going to be summoning shards for the summon rush. Those who aren't are probably going to be summoning shards anyway, because this is maybe the most disgusting times 10 I've ever seen. It just makes me think they must be leading up to like a guaranteed ancient, perhaps the week after. I can't think what else it is, because the champions in this pool are ridiculous. Or maybe they just want some of that fat Kraken cash. But let's go through it. Let me talk you through the champions we've got. Even the epics. So we're going to start with the epic Alure is in the mix. Yeah, so Alure is coming out. She is a demon spawn. Awesome, awesome champion. She really is the champion that helps you beat Fire Knight or helps you beat Dark Fae. Yeah, she's the epic, like the champion, not just the epic. She's better than legendaries at this job. So basically what she's doing here with her A1, as long as you build a 100% crit rate with accuracy, she will basically keep a single target's turn meter down to 0. Yeah, she just keeps hitting. She can weak hit with this, so just kind of bear it in mind, but every time she A1s into a boss that can have its turn meter reduced, basically it's down to 0. That's how good this is. The A2 is an okay ability. It's an AoE, weak source, drop defense, and sleep. So not 100%. And the A3 can hit for an okay amount of damage, but really for 99.9% of players, it's all about that A1 ability and just dropping turn meter. She's got faction crypts, aura, whatever. Speeds and stuff are okay. Her defense is low. She's quite squishy. If you let her be attacked, she will be killed. So you have to bear that in mind. But for endgame teams, pretty much Allure for Fire Knight is where it's at. So that's Champion 1. Champion 2 is pretty meta for Hydra. So you've got Husk coming in, depending on the rotation, depending on affinities. Husk is one of the biggest champions for Hydra. 2 reasons. A1 has got a chance to provoke, which helps you with the Head of Decay. It's not consistent enough to be the provoke champion, honestly, but it's good as a backup. 40% chance if you book him out, it's not bad. So he can get the Head of Decay under wraps here with the A1. And then his A2 is an enemy max HP nuke. Outside of Hydra, it's also got a chance to stun, which for an epic is very unusual for an AoE. 60-odd% chance to stun. If you book him out, you book this down to a 4-turn. A lot of people either run him in Relentless gear or Reflex gear to try and get back to this ability as quick as possible. And a lot of people just turn off the A3 because honestly, it's an okay hitter, but not anything crazy. So yeah, Husk is definitely a meta champion. Next one up has actually dropped out of the meta a bit. Still, I mean, for the average player, still an insane champ. But Madame Serris, so well known as one of the best arena champions in the game. She's got an A3, which cleanses all buffs from all targets that you're fighting, and then puts decreased attack and decreased defense, weakening their hits, whilst also enabling you to do more damage. Yeah, it's a brilliant, brilliant ability on a 4-turn if you book it. It's a nuts ability. But actually, in terms of like proper endgame meta, people are not putting debuffs out. They're just trying to slam through and bring champions that actually ignore defense by themselves. People like Baron or Silius Roanus. There's a few champions in the mix now. Rotus, that can just kind of one-shot people. And Madame has taken a bit of a backseat from endgame meta, but still, if you pull her and you're anywhere else in the game, she's an invaluable arena champion and pretty damn useful kind of general content anyway. The A2 can do a bit of a buff steal if you're lucky, 50-50. If you do steal a buff, though, you give your whole team block debuffs, which is cool. And you can put out True Fear as well. And then the A1's got a chance of fearing. Depending on how many debuffs are on the target, it kind of grows. She's got a shield in kind of passive here, which is okay. Nothing too crazy, but it's not bad. Her base stats are great. Madame is still top tier, actually. Top tier as an epic, I would say. Let's get into the legendaries then. The first one is a champion that I really want. Like, I'm going to be blowing shards on the main for this dude. Teodor. I've tried once before, didn't land it, but it is going to be Ancient, Sacred, and Voids this time round. So yeah, Teodor the Savant. He's basically the answer to speed farming dungeons. Yeah, he's the best in the game. There's not anyone better. Actually, probably like Ornn, the current Fusion Epic, is up there as like a top 5 or something. But this dude is #1 and by a considerable amount. And if you play him alongside like Calvalaxes as well, or playing alongside himself, then he is even quicker. Like, it's nuts. So I can imagine even people with Teodor will be pushing to get more copies, I would think. But anyway, we've got an AoE decreased speed. Makes him actually pretty good for most content this. Like, forget speed farming dungeon running. If you just got him and he's your only legendary, this gives you kind of like Hydra access. It gives you faction wars. Any wave-based content, this is strong. This is where it gets a bit nutty though. So on the A2, on a 3-turn, puts out 2 poisons and poison sensitivity for 2 turns and boosts the speed of your team. And then the A3 has got an increased poison and burn, then instantly activate them. So instantly pop those buffs, those debuffs, sorry. And it just gives you like a burst of damage. And if they're not there, it puts weaken out as well. And he gets resistance for every poison out there. So pretty much you're just pairing him up with other poisoners or other burners or just letting him do the job himself. But yeah, nuts. Also accuracy in all battles, crazy stats. Teodor, one of the best. Okay, then we've got next. Kind of, I guess, comes into some meta teams, I guess, like endgame, but it's kind of in and out, flits in and out. Zavia is always going to be dangerous because she's got poison explosion on the A3. And this ability is nuts right the way through the game. It falls off a bit very late game, but she still finds a way into big teams. It's one of the best ways to blow up waves of enemies alongside Seer, Ruel, Zavia, or anyone who's doing this ability. So what's she doing then? Basically, it's an AoE. She deals damage based on the amount of poison debuffs that are out there, basically just exploding them, which is nuts. Got an A1 which applies poison as well, an A2 which applies poison on an AoE, but it's a chance effect. And then if she pairs up with Bellinor, she gets stronger, but I don't think anyone really does this. Attacking all battles. Again, good base stats. A bit like Alure, this one. Good base stats, but very squishy on the defense. But yeah, Zavia, she shouldn't need defense because everybody should be dead. Right, next one up. Wow. The King of Arena. The King of the Nukes. Hephraak. I say he's the King of the Nukes. I guess Baron might have an argument about that now. Probably does, actually. But like the hardest hitter for normal damage. And also a really cool passive. So we've got an A1 here. Double hits if he crits. Should always be critting this guy because he should be in your best gear that you own. The A2 AoE places an extra hit on targets with less than half health and ignores some defense. Now this is cool. It's even cooler when you read his passive and realize that when one of your team die, he will instantly do that ability and it won't be put on cooldown. So one of your team fall down. He comes in with that massive A2, which is one of the biggest hitters in the game. Kills a bunch of people. If they're not all dead yet, he then gets his turn and says, you know what I'm going to use? My A2. And then everyone does die. A3 is a self-buff as well and then go again. So you could build him to go fast and then only need to have 70% crit rate on him. Self-buff in attack. He comes in with the slam. So yeah, really, really strong champion. Right, we've got 2 Void legendaries to go. So first one up has always been in and out of the meta. But because he's so unique, he will always be in and out of the meta. Hegi. I guess with Stone Skin where you can't affect turn meter, maybe I honestly don't know if he's in the meta right now or not. But because Stone Skin stops you affecting turn meter, I'd imagine that perhaps he's not. Also, a lot of people in Plat are running Polymorph so that if someone lands a debuff on you, on one of your team, basically sheeps the person that was doing it, which is quite funny. And he does a lot of debuffing. So I don't know if he's in it. I imagine he's probably dropped out a bit. You've got an A1 which can decrease speed. You've got an AoE A2 which can block active skills and do quite a lot of damage. And then you've got a passive here that just means he always goes first. Unless he's against himself and then it's whoever's fastest out of the 2. But yeah, Hegi is super fun. I've got mine built full damage right now, which is actually really fun on the main. It's probably not meta or whatever, but it's super fun. So last one up then. Maybe, is it still? I don't know if he still is. I think he is. The best arena defense champion in the game. If anyone is like plat level player, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Is he still the best arena defense champion in the game? I think he is. Anyway, why is he so good? Because he does a load of stuff before the game even begins, before the round begins. He's basically putting out on his passive here, block debuffs, strengthen, and ally protect to the person with the lowest HP in your team. So you're choosing who that's going to be. Yeah, and it's normally going to be your threat, your nuker. So he's protecting them. The ally protection can't even be taken off him, the person they're protecting. And then when that person is attacked, they get a fat shield worth 30% of this dude's health. So all of that's crazy. And if you don't use him for arena, then he's got some other skills as well. So he's got a decreased attack A1, doesn't need accuracy for it, can't be resisted. He's got an ally attack A2, where he basically teams up with people that have got ally protection on. So the person that he originally would have buffed, and then his A3 actually applies the ally protection buff as well. So he can end up getting 2 or 3 people in this ally attack ability. Grants an extra turn if no enemies are killed during the attack, which is quite interesting as well. So he can just kind of like cycle abilities pretty damn fast. Does have resistance in all battles, got crazy base stats. Nekhret is truly the greats. So there you go. I know that I'm going to be pulling shards during this. That's because I'm a filthy endgame whale. But I'd imagine most people that either care about arena or care about dungeon speedrunning will pull a few shards here and hope they get lucky. As we know, 10 times generally are a scam. I hear people say they're a scam. Scam's not the right word because you're not being tricked. You know exactly what you're doing, but they're generally not good. Anyway, I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.